It's afternoon here in Lagos. I know it's still morning in a couple of in Ghana and a couple of other places. So good morning, good morning and good afternoon, everyone that is on the call. Thank you for taking out of your day lives, out of your very busy schedule to be in here. I promise that it will be worth your time. It's going to be a beautiful session, and I have my friend and colleague here who's going to be providing his own thoughts. Mr. Abraham is going to be providing his own thoughts and his own opinion with regards to what is risk management, especially what I like to call what is enterprise risk management. What exactly? So when we start, it's one thing for us to talk about risk management. It's another thing for us to talk about enterprise risk management. So that's what we're going to be here to do today. And indeed, we're excited that all of you have taken out of your very busy schedule to be here. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot. I'm also certain that you'll be able to take specific things away with you as an organization. So our organization is called A4S, and what we do is rightly embedded in our name. We're an audit organization. We also provide advisory services, and then we also provide assessment services and assurance and assessment services. So those are the four things that we do as an organization. We audit, we provide advisory services, right? And we provide assurance, independent assurance, and or we also do provide assessment. So that's who we are. And I think over the last 1 year plus, we have done this thing that we call our monthly webinar sessions over the last 1 year. If I'm not wrong, we have done this over the last 1 year. Different sessions that we have had, and it's indeed a pleasure to be here. Some people that are on this call, they're here all the time, and we appreciate your coming. We will share a link in the chat room that speaks about that shows that you can go to online, and you will find a lot of the sessions that we have had in the past. Some of them we have done alone, some of them we have done with our sister company, Training Heights. And even as we speak, we're providing some audit and advisory session engagement to some organizations. Even as we speak, we're doing some audit and advisory sessions for some organizations with regards to enterprise risk management. At least two of those we have two of those types of engagements going on as we speak. So we'll put some links in the chat room if you really want to just know more about who we are, what is it that we do, and things like that. I can even show you my, I think, company website, a4sonline.com.ng, and it'll be nice if you can look in there. And if you have any needs, these are the kinds of things that we do. As I said, our logo talks about this, and we've had quite a bit of webinars in the past. Some of them on SDG. We'll share the link. We have quite a number of these things that we've been doing, at least about 12 to 13 months that we've done different things along these lines. So it's our pleasure to have you all here, and thank you very much for taking out of your time to be here. We work out of Accra in Ghana. We also work out of here in Lagos, Nigeria. Okay, so let me say a bit about risk management before I hand it over to my colleague Abraham. Abraham is we've done many things together. We've been in different classes, different forums, together around many types of management systems. And he also has rich and extensive experience when it comes to looking at risk. You know, I mean, and he has one of the areas he looks at is also on the physical security side of things that a lot of people don't look at. Whether you have a pipeline, your people want to kidnap somebody in your organization, and those kinds of things. Abraham also has a very good experience along those lines. So he will talk about not just, I know most people are always thinking about information security risk and business continuity, but risk is beyond that as it is. So once again, I'll say a couple of things and I'll hand it over to him. Number one is that we live in a VUCA world, and I'm not going to go through the details of what VUCA means, but VUCA is a big deal. It's a very interesting world, um, as it is, the volatility of the world, the complexity of this world, the uncertainty that's attached to this world, and how everything is really ambiguous. So as you think about your own organization and as you go into the year 2025, you should start to really think about VUCA and how it affects your own organization. So the idea is not just to think about VUCA generally speaking, but you have to think about VUCA, how it affects your own organization and how you can treat or insulate your organization from being overly or negatively affected by volatility of the world and of the environment, the uncertainty, the complexity of everything, and the ambiguity that kind of surrounds all of us. So that's number one. There's this slide where there's also something called the global poly crisis. Like, so it's not just about VUCA, there's also the thing around the poly crisis. And I like this diagram. It also shows is a complex looking diagram that already tells you that there are all sorts of things happening simultaneously around the world. So this talks about the poly crisis, the the combination of the intermingling of various types of crises that is happening in this world, around the world, as it is. So this poly crisis is also a big deal. And once again, the idea is that how can you insulate your own organization from all these things? Inflation is rife everywhere. There are all sorts of challenges. How can you insulate your own organization so that you don't close down your company? That's the simple idea. You don't get affected by all these things to the point where you have to close down your own company, as it is. There are many things. This report. Everybody, you can go online and you can look at this report. It's a brilliant report, and it's a free report. It tells you about the global risk as it is. And on that global risk, you can see they put something there for the next 2 years. They've also put something you should be thinking about over the next 10 years. So they talk about misinformation and disinformation, which is tied to social media. They're talking about extreme weather events, which is tied to the environment, ISO 14,000. They're talking about the polarization of the society. You also have cyber insecurity, and then you have things like the economy, inflation, people that are migrating unwittingly from one location to the other. And then you also have things around the economic downturn and even pollution. So you also see that you can align all these things to one ISO standard or the other. You can align them to ISO 14,000. You can align them to 27001. You can align them to ISO 22301, which is business continuity. I mean, you can align them to all sorts of things. The reason why we're talking about risk management and why we keep speaking about it all the time is because smart organizations need to ensure that they can insulate themselves from risk management, from the threats that arise from risk management in themselves. So that's why this is here. I'll show you one more thing. You can take a screenshot from here. I'm not going to try to speak about all these because I need to bring in our speaker as it is. You can look at this. Risk is always about the future. Business continuity and information security, they are subsets of the enterprise risk. Risk is different from issues. Then you have something around the risk proximity. Sorry, this trainer is calling me. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. And lastly, as I said, I just got one more thing. Oh God. Hello? All right. As I said, so that Abraham can come in, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about because this is not a training. We're just going to, yeah, it's for everybody to just look at the various categories of risks that affect their own organization and how they can stay on top of it. You can take a screenshot from here and ask yourself, what are the various categories of risks that affect your organization and how can you stay on top of it? All right. So thank you very much, everyone. I'll bring Abraham in now. He can, I'm sure he would introduce himself and he'll go through his presentation. Thank you, everyone.
I'm really, really sorry. Hello everyone. I'm delighted that in spite of your schedule, you are able to attend this training titled Mastering Risk Management by Effectively Auditing ISO 31000. Without much ado, I want to thank the organizers of this training, A4S Limited, and in particular, Dr. Orlando Olumide, for this opportunity. So risk management, as we call it, or risk management, or risk itself is part of our everyday life. They are all over the place. They are all over the place. Just hold on, please, there. Though risks usually have a negative connotation, they can be positive. So what is risk then? Risk, as defined by ISO 31000, is the effect of uncertainty of objectives. From the data above, you can see that we had an economic loss of 2.9 trillion as a result of disasters, natural disasters all over the world. And these impact or affect both individuals, organizations. So when you don't identify and treat risk or manage risks, you have it will be negative on you. But if you have a robust plan to treat and manage risks, then it can be positive and you can benefit from it. So ISO 31 per se is a generic guideline that provide principles to assist organization in establishing, implementing, operating, and maintaining, continually improving their risk management framework. Can you go to the next slide, please? So once organizations have decided that risk management is the way to go, leadership per se will have to will have to identify, select, and appoint a risk management team, right? And they will be tasked with the function which we'll be looking at as our agenda. So risk management itself is a set of coordinated activity to direct and control an organization's risks, because risk is everybody's business. So when organizations decide that they want to implement risk management framework based on ISO 31000, the following are their benefits which they are going to derive, which you can see on the, can you see the slide, please? Let me confirm, everybody. Hello, can you see the slide? So one of the benefits you will get, oh, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
We can see the slides. You can
Also,
we can hear you.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So these are some of the benefits organizations will stand to get when they implement the risk management system in their organizations. They will have improved decision making. It will enhance strategic planning, increase efficiency and productivity, reduces operational costs, improves stakeholders' confidence, and also enhances regulatory compliance. Can you move on, please? So as we all said, I've stated before that risks are part of our everyday life, and they are all over the place. So what is risk identification? So what as organizations or the team will be mandated to do is to identify risks and assess it in an organization. Prior to identifying these risks, the team, which will be led by a subject matter expert who has the necessary requisite competence and training, will have to also identify assets and match them against the risks which they have identified based on the appetite of the organization. And they will have to assess it also. So what is risk identification? It is the act of identifying negative and positive risks that might impact an organization's objective. And the reason why we do risk identification is to tell us what risk is. And after we have identified those risks, we have to assess them, right? We need to assess them. Please, can you move on to the next slide? Hello. So once you have identified risks and assessed them, what do you do when you find those threats and vulnerabilities that are going to impact your organization? The next thing you have to do, or the team will have to do, is to carry out a risk treatment and mitigation strategy. Yeah. And this involves evaluating in terms of probability and impact on how these risks are going to affect the organization. So risk treatment is the way we deal or respond to a particular risk. And the purpose is to select and implement options for addressing a risk. Practically, before identifying one's risks or one's risk, you need to identify those risks, place them, categorize them, and value them accordingly. By maybe you start with people, asset, tangible and intangible. You go to community, then the last will be what? Environment, how those risks are going to affect us. So the risk mitigation strategy, they are okay. Please feel free to drop your comments and questions, right, everybody? And this is just this training or webinar is just to whet our appetites. There is a training that is coming up in October, a 3 days or 4 days training. If you want to get a robust training and certification for risk management according to ISO 31000. So I'll be at the end of the training, the team here will be sharing the link and how we can register. So risk mitigation is the strategy that organizations use to reduce the effect of risk, right? So, and there are 4 ways in which we can do that. Organizations can do that. You can avoid the risk. That is, you do nothing about it, just ignore it. You can transfer it by sharing it into that with insurance companies. You can accept it wholeheartedly and say this risk is okay for me to accept. Or you develop the risk mitigation strategy or countermeasures or control measures to address the risk. Can you move on? Thank you so much. The next slide. So once you have developed your risk treatment strategy and also the mitigation strategies for the organization, that is the risk management team have done that. The next thing is to communicate the risks. So there are various methods you can use in communicating risks to your organization and your stakeholders. So you first of all, you start with an opening meeting. It can be a face-to-face, it can be an online meeting, it could be an email that will be circulated or sent. Yeah, because you have already acquired leadership support. So ISO 31000, which is one of the management systems, also uses the PDCA, plan, do, check and act methodology. And for risk management, that is also the methodology we use, whether it's in security risk assessment or information security risk assessment, operational risk assessment, process risk assessment, whichever type of risk assessment you wish to deploy or use in your organization. These plan, do, check and act can be used to carry out that. So you now need to communicate this risks to your audience, and you need to gauge their audience. Communication is continuous in risk management because you need leadership support. You need your leadership both at the board level, at the top leadership level, top management level, and also you need those that will be supporting you in these functions and roles in delivering. So communication is key. So why do we communicate? The purpose of risk communication is to help us understand and manage risk. Though risk communication is complex, but you cannot do without it, because at the end of the day, you need to also, when you have carried out risk assessment and you have recommended, you have your countermeasures, control measures, you have them put in place. In the no surprise meeting, which is the closing meeting, which is in the closing meeting, it could be through emails or any other communication or online meeting, just as we are having like this, that you can set up, the team leader can set up to engage the leadership and those functions that you wish that the organizations have identified and selected, who might be subject and are subject experts in other areas in your organization, to join the subject matter in risk management, to deliver and ensure that we have a robust risk management culture in the organization. So in the no surprise meeting, what is the agenda? What is the objective? What do you intend to deliver? You need to show how you plan, the methodology you adopted in assessing the risk. At that meeting also, you will need to also show the focal points, those who will be addressing, those who need to close the timeline, the risks need to be closed. And also you need to, in that meeting, seek approval from the management, because resources will be required, financial resources will be required to address those risks. They could be addressed in naira, in dollar, in pounds, wherever, because for example, if you want to one of your recommendations is to have a CCTV or a control room, some of those equipments you will need to import them. Or if you want to have a guard door system, or if you want to have a drone, or if your own is just to have a physical security system in place, even if you want to just have a guard system, they all involve finances. So it's in the no surprise meeting, those are your recommendations, that you will bring them out and ensure that you have management buy-in. Management buy-in is key. Management buy-in is key. So at that meeting, this information will be communicated to your audience, to your leadership, and to the organizations, and to those stakeholders that need to implement a risk management system in the organization. So you have to be honest, simple, and clear as a professional in carrying out this activity as a subject matter expert. Please, can you go to the next page? So once you have identified the risks, assessed it, recommended the risk treatment strategies and mitigation plans, and you've communicated them, now this is very, very critical, because this is the meat of the whole thing. You need to integrate risk management into the organization, the processes of the organization. And so what is integrated risk management? It is a comprehensive methodology that helps organizations identify, assess, and manage risk in a coordinated manner. Though ISO 31 is a generic guideline that provides a comprehensive framework that can be adopted to any organization, regardless of size, industrial sector. So why are we having a risk management system that is to be adopted to effectively adopted to ISO 31000? Because ISO 31000 can be used irrespective of the type of organization that you are operating. It can be used anywhere. You can tailor made the risk management system to suit your organization, whether it's a church, whether it's a process organization, whether it's a sales organization, whether it's a bank, any type of organization, you can use it. You can use this management system. So integrated risk management combines the enterprise operational, privacy, business continuity, and vendor and other risk management components across an enterprise. And it has the following business benefits to an organization. It promotes the drive for discovering opportunities. In fact, some organizations have started looking for opportunities management, which is coming from risk management. So instead of looking for the negative side, you begin to look for the positive side. So during COVID-19, there are organizations that actually benefited from COVID-19. There are things they did. They upscaled some of their staff. They trained them the more. So many things, and organizations were running. So that means that those organizations have foresight, and maybe they had embedded risk management culture into their system. So the earlier you start, the better for that organization or that individual. So integrating risk management system into an organization also provide a clear view of what you need to do, especially finance, and how you need to secure your organization. It leads to effective network system both for those in IT security and provide optimized performance. And last but not the least, it leads to stronger resilience. Organizations post-COVID, we are talking about resiliency management, we're talking about business continuity. So risk management actually is one of those strands or those legs that have been provided currently globally that will help you build resilience for your organization. Please, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So once you have identified the risks, assess it, provided risk treatment strategies and mitigation plans, you've communicated it. Yeah, clause 9 and 10 of ISO 31000, which is part of the management systems. Yes, clause 9 is telling you about performance evaluation and continuous improvement. That's clause 10. So that's what monitoring and review of risk management framework is all about. And monitoring and review, monitoring especially involves the routine surveillance of planned and actual. You need to compare your plan and actual. If they are performing, yeah, if they are not performing, then you need to review it. And that's where review comes in, continuous improvement. Review involves periodic and impromptu check. For most of the standards or for risk management standards based on ISO 31000, for example, security risk assessment. It is required for most organizations that security risk assessment be conducted every 5 years. However, when you have a sudden change that can impact your organization, you can review it immediately. Yeah, so it's not you can review it immediately, but you need to have a plan on monitoring and review. So you can review at a strategic level, you can review at operational level, and whichever level or whichever semantics your organization will require to use. We need to monitor continuously and review the risk management frameworks in our organization so that we can have improvements and innovations on how to benefit and operate optimally. Please, can you move to the next slide? Next slide, please. So the purpose of monitoring and review is to ensure and improve the quality and effectiveness of the process, design, implementations, and outcomes. So continuous monitoring and periodic review helps the organization manage their process effectively. ISO 31000 plus 6.6 monitoring and review recommends that or requires that this process should be continuous and on a regular basis. So we need to plan, yeah, in monitoring. Monitoring and review aims to provide reasonable assurance to both stakeholders and those that are in the system. You know, the effect and impact of risk can be quite enormous that some organizations, if they crystallize or the top event happens, the organizations can go under or immediately. There'll be a lot of families, a lot of breadwinners, employees will be out of job. So identifying those risks early, whether they are compliance risks, whether they are information security risks, whether they are operational risks, process risks, like some organizations like Toyota, I think some years ago, they had an issue with a production line, which the company Toyota had to recall all their products back. So, but if they had carried out risk assessment on time, they would have been able to spot that process that will result in such amount loss to the company. So please, can we proceed? Next slide, please. So risk management. The topic is mastering risk management, effectively auditing ISO 31000. And I believe strongly that what we are here to do today is to get valuable knowledge, practical knowledge on how to manage this risk. So when we effectively audit our system based on ISO 31000, which is not a certifiable standard, but a guideline, we are demonstrating commitment to risk management principles, and we align our processes and systems to them. So one thing we do is to get leadership commitment, which I've stated in the very first beginning of the statement. Then you develop a risk management policy, a plan, an SOP for all those. You have your register, risk management register, risk management register, which will contain both your risk, the assets. You identify your assets, you identify your threats, vulnerability, you check and compare your current control measures you have in place. You will now check again on your vulnerabilities. You check the likelihood and all those impacts. Then you now recommend your mitigation or treatment plans to reduce the risks to as low as reasonably practicable, right? So when we adopt and align our risk management framework to ISO 31000, these are the benefits that our stands to derive. Please, next slide. So I'm really sorry because we don't have enough time to actually talk about risk management. But just as we said, the process is all what the risk management team are supposed to do is to first of all identify risks and assess them, provide risk treatment and mitigation strategy, communicate the risks, report it, document it, and record it. Yeah, sign it off, have management approvals, integrate the risks into the system by appointing champions in the various departments and processes, and monitor the risks, and review it on a continuous basis. So by implementing risk management principles based on ISO 31000, these are what we stand to benefit. We have looked at this previously. So can you go on, please?